Hello, I am Vishal. I am from Northern California. I am 23 years old and I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis in 2005. When I was diagnosed, I was obviously a young child, but in those first few years, I remember feeling unwell, having to use the restroom often, and feeling tired, sometimes having some body aches and fatigue, typical symptoms of this condition, and of course, with many blood tests and many visits to the doctor's office, my family and myself was starting to get an idea on what this disease is. Thankfully, when I was diagnosed in 2005, and for almost 10 years of having the disease, there were medications I was on which kept me mostly in remission, which was great. So around the 2016-2017 mark was when I started to feel unwell again, and despite trying multiple therapies, I was having trouble feeling well and staying in remission, and that was when the mention or concept of a clinical trial was brought up to my family and I. In the weeks and days leading up to enrolling in this clinical trial, the main topic on mine and my parents' minds was understanding the risks and what side effects I might have from the medication I would be taking. So that really calmed any of the hesitations and nerves that me or my parents had. When the day came for my first dosing of the study drug as a part of the clinical trial, the doctors ensured I was well monitored, and so in case anything happened, I would be treated appropriately. I would say it was much easier than I had expected. I got a bottle of medication, 30 tablets once a day for 30 days, a rather easy dosing regimen. I had been given a mini diary, essentially just to record what time I take the medication and how I was feeling. I spent the next 30 days taking this medication once a day, easy to swallow pill, and noted down the time and how I felt. And at the end of the 30-day period, I returned the bottle, empty bottle of medication and the journal I had been taking notes in. The investigator of the trial, my treating doctors, my parents, and myself were glad to have seen the drug work, and I, to this date, have not dealt with that complication, which I am fortunate to say. Thinking about this clinical trial experience in hindsight, I would say it was a positive experience. I was glad to have been a part of it, both because I fortunately had a benefit from the drug, but also knowing that there are going to be patients in the future who are going to get this drug, hopefully when it is fully FDA approved for a younger pediatric population, that my experience and, as some say, maybe courage of being enrolled in this clinical trial will help others down the road who are in a similar situation. So overall, I would say the experience was very positive, and I'm glad to have helped whatever amount I could in getting this drug approved for a pediatric population. The one thing I would just like to close with is it is important to know that the infrastructure and hospitals and investigators and physicians that help start up these trials, that help decide who or who would not be included in these trials, and really who run the entire clinical trials community, there is a very rigorous infrastructure that ensures that these trials are run along with the assigned protocol. And think about it, for every approved drug that's on the market today, even something as well-known and widespread as maybe Tylenol or even aspirin, that there once was a clinical trial for these medications, and overall it is a good reminder that being part of the clinical trials community is good for yourself and the greater good of the community of patients and prescribers alike.